Hello, this is Jerry Michael. I want to talk about advising for math courses for fall 2018. I have a handout here, and everyone will have access to this handout, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to focus on a few things specifically. You'll notice that the handout is set up so that there are two columns. In the first column, you have a description of a student, and in the second column, you have the math class that would best meet that student's needs. So let's just take a look at the first box here. So in the first box here, the student is a student who tests into Math 55 with a Wonderlic score of 220 to 250. Now, if we have students who test into Math 55 at this higher end, so from 220 to 250, we're allowing them on the Hazard campus to skip Math 55 and go right into Math 65 as long as they take a Math 50 lab. Now the lab, which meets before the class from 9 to 9:30 and the class meets from 9:30 to 10:45, will consist of reviewing mini lectures, working on in the online program, doing things that will help students prepare to work with the concepts in the 65 class that day. So it's sort of that just-in-time learning, helping students review right before they need to use that material that is reviewed in the Math 65 class that day. This is not a class that is good for students who are on the lower end of testing into Math 55. So if the student tests into the adult basic education level, or if the student tests into Math 55 with a score on the Wonderlic of 200 to 219, this is not a good class for those students. We have found that when those students take the 65-50, they end up not finishing, so they end up withdrawing or just vanishing. Okay, so students who have the 220 to 250 score, though, if they will stay with me, because I teach that class, they are overwhelmingly successful. This is a chance for them to skip Math 55, so they won't have to spend an entire semester in Math 65. They won't have to spend that extra tuition money on a Math 55 class. Sometimes students would rather go into or are placed into an online Math 55 instead of this 65-50. And that's really not a good idea, because success in Math 55 is low anyway. It's especially low in online classes. That's no one's fault. It's just the nature of Math 55 and the students who take Math 55. So just know that this pairing is available for those students who make the appropriate score, and if students can meet at that time, it's a good idea to suggest that, or to try to convince students to take it. They will be successful. We have a lot of fun in that class, so that's just my personal plug for that class as well. You know, the 65-50 pairing is also good for students who have previously taken Math 65 but were unsuccessful. So you may have a student who received a grade of MP or a grade of F in 65 previously. They may want to take 65 with the lab to give a little extra support. If they don't feel like they want to take the lab, that's understandable. It's another credit hour of tuition. It's another credit hour that they're taking. They may find it helpful just to take the Math 65 45P1, and that's totally fine to take that class alone. That class will be taught in the traditional way. It's not an Emporium class. It's a class where everyone is working together on the same content at the same time. There's lecture and discussion and modeling in class. So students may prefer that structure if they have had trouble with 65 previously. Now, if you have a student who tests into Math 55 with a Wonderlic score of 200 to 219, or if they're taking classes on a campus other than the Hazard campus where we do not offer the 6550, Math 55 is the best for those students. And here we have a list of the sections on every campus of Math 55. All right, another pairing that we have is the Math 150 and Math 96 pairing. What this pairing does is it allows students to skip Math 85. So if you have a student who tests into Math 85 or who has completed Math 65, they can take the Math 150-96 pairing. And that will allow them to skip Math 85. Now, a couple things about this. Students who are skipping Math 85 must be placed in a paired 150 and 96. They cannot be placed in a random MAT 150 and a random Math 96, okay? So we have those pairings at Lee's, at Knott, and at Hazard during the fall semester. So remember, if you're having a student skip 85, they must take this specific section, for example, at Hazard, 45P1, with a specific 96. They can't take Math 150 and any 96. This only works, and students are most successful when they are in the pairing, because they're going to be doing things in this 96 that will get them ready for 150 in a way that they might not be doing if they take just a random 96. Okay? Also, do not place students who are skipping Math 85 in an online Math 150 and or Math 96. These online classes are not paired and are not designed to give students who skip Math 85 the support they need. If a student takes 150 and 96 online, the instructor will assume that that student has had Math 85. So this is not those online classes are not designed to allow someone to skip Math 85, okay? Now, you'll notice that I have here student needs MAT 150 to satisfy degree requirement. And it has a little asterisk there. If you look down here, I have a list of the programs and degrees that require Math 150. So if a student is getting an Associate in Science degree, if they're in Computer and Information Technology, if they're in Sonography, PTA, or Radiography, or another STEM-related major, then those students will need Math 150. So it is appropriate to put them into Math 150. It may be that they need to take the lab as well if they are skipping 85. If they've already had 85, then they can go into Math 150 without a lab. Sometimes their test scores on the ACT or Wonderlic will mean that they need to take a Math 96, not necessarily one specifically paired with their Math 150, but they need to take a Math 96, and that's appropriate as well. But if you have students who are not looking at a STEM degree or those degrees or majors that are listed here, then consider placing those students in Math 146. So if a student has an ACT of 19 or higher and a Wonderlic score of at least 288, or has completed Math 65, or has tested into Math 85, and they're working toward an AA or AFA, nursing, human services, bluegrass and traditional music, surgical technology, IECE, or other non-STEM related major, Math 146 may be the best for those students. Now, we have Math 146 on both the Hazard and the Lee's campus. Nursing is the big one here. This is a change. Nursing in the past has required Math 150. According to Paul Curry, Math 146 is is a class that is appropriate for nursing. So that may be a better option. It's not an algebra heavy class. It's a class that deals with different types of mathematics, and students who are generally not as successful in algebra have been very successful in the Math 146 class. So there's one section at Hazard, one section at Lee's, and as you review this sheet, you will see that we have another section online. So please note that at HCTC we waive the Math 85 prerequisite, so students can take 146 after successfully completing Math 65. Also, it's a transferable class, so don't feel like that if your student is getting an AA degree that they need to take Math 150. They may need to take Math 150 if they have plans that require it beyond our college, but if they're getting an AA degree, think about and investigate whether or not Math 146 will work. It is a transferable class. Do not assume that all students need Math 150 to transfer, because that's just not the case. Now, I want to specifically point out that the Tuesday Night Live will be running again in the fall from 6 to 9, and we have Math 65, Math 150, Math 146, and 110 that are available for students during the Tuesday Night Live classes. We have Statistics 210 and 220 again on the Hazard campus, and we have a series of online classes as well. Now, there are a couple things that I want to point out as we look ahead to spring 2019. We will be offering Math 155 Trigonometry online, and we will be offering Math 116 with a 96 lab on the Tech campus. If students are receiving an AS degree and they need a second quantitative reasoning course, Math 155 Trigonometry is a course that will work. The prerequisite for this course is Math 150, so if you have students who are thinking of taking Math 115 in the spring, they need to be taking 150 now. On the Tech campus, 116, students can take this class if they have completed Math 55 or if they have tested into Math 62 or Math 65. Students who have completed either of those classes, Math 62 or Math 65, can enroll in Math 116 without the lab. But if they have only completed Math 55, they can enroll in Math 116 with the lab and be successful. Now keep in mind that trigonometry and technical math are both generally only going to be offered in the spring from now on. So keep that in mind as you are planning and looking at graduation plans. The only other thing I wanted to point out, if I can go back up to a previous page, is that we have some students who need Math 85. We're trying to phase Math 85 out. We think it's more appropriate in the math department if students take the 150-96 or 146, and that's a way that they can skip Math 85. Math 85 has a lot of repeat competencies with Math 150. It's just a class that we feel wastes more time than it actually helps students. So we're trying to phase it out. There are students who are taking or who have taken Math 85 in the Emporium model and need to finish it up, or there are students who are taking Math 85 and feel like that they would be better taking Math 85 than jumping right into 150, and that's just fine. If you're on a campus where 150-96 is not an option, then you may want to take Math 85 or have students enroll in Math 85. We have a night section of Math 85 on the Hazard campus, and we have a section of Math 85 at the Leslie County campus. But keep in mind, we are trying to, or we would like for that class to sort of be phased out. So I hope that you find this handout helpful, and I hope that you have found this video helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to me